Well, there we go. Salute family. It's Tank Commander Zulu back at you once again in the Real Man Movement with special guests. We have a special guest for you guys today. He's the one and only, the original OG, but I also want to go ahead and introduce my counterpart. You know who he is, the Black Columbo of the internet, Drew Danger.
How's it going, guys?
All right, hey, today we have OG Silverback, and some of you guys may have seen him before. I'm a small fry compared to this brother right here, but I'm gonna go ahead and let him introduce himself, and I hope he give us that intro that I heard, man. Give us that intro, and we'll get right on into the business. What you got, OG Silverback?
Man, got around. OG Silverback here. And today of all days, guys, I have the exact pleasure hanging on my dude, Drew Guest, man. Me and Drew go way back. And I'm also honored to be with the Tank Commander Zulu. I've been following this guys. I want you guys to go over to his channel, show him some love. He's got some real man stuff. And now we're going to get it cracking, man. I'm so happy to be here, guys.
There it is. There it is, man. Well, look, brother, I'm glad we got you. I know my schedule's busy and your schedule is busy. We want to respect each other's time. And I know Drew is all over the place too. So, you know, look, we're going to get right into things. One of the things I want you to be able to speak on, brother, because you have a wonderful story, the things you've been through and how you changed your life, right? But one of the things that I guess we can start off with is that you want to tell me tell the audience exactly where you're from. And your audience may know, but my audience probably don't know. They may know and may not know where you're from, some of the things that have taken place that led you to where you are today. And in between, I know that's a lot because from what I understand, you're in the Philippines now. But you can start off with probably where you come from and some of the things that you went through and what led to this change as we go into the conversation. What led to your change? And I think we all can contribute to that particular piece of information individually. What you got, brother?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so first of all, I'm originally from Puerto Rico, and you understand this, Tank, and Drew understand this, but Puerto Rico is actually a possession of the United States. We're not part of the United States, and we're a possession. So what that means is when we had the Cold War with Cuba, the United States was like, oh, Puerto Rico's a vantage point. We can look at the communists over there and see what's going on. But here's the situation I wanted to point out with you guys. When you're a possession of the United States brought, drugs and prostitution and gangs to, like, I tell people Puerto Rico's kind of like the Philippines now, with just like a very native land, just a lot of innocence, man, and beauty. And the United States came over there, and this is not a negative thing. I'm just giving you a backstory. So the United States came with the drugs and the gangs and the prostitution. So then the elders in Puerto Rico was like, oh man, if we're gonna be part of El Diablo, is what they call it, the devil, then we might as well go to the United States and get paid. So that's how my family came to the United States. They had the opportunity to come here for a better life, because in Puerto Rico, if you're born poor, you're gonna stay poor. So we moved to the United States, hit New York. I mean, you know how there's a lot of Puerto Ricans in New York, right?
Oh, I know.
We hit Harlem, and it was like a culture shock, man. Just the violence and the crime and the poverty, man. So I grew up back east, looking at, in the snow and stuff. We used to watch TV, and I used to see these women on the beach playing volleyball in California. So I told my dad, I was like, hey man, when I grow up, I'm going to California. And he said, son, you got your head in the clouds. You're going to be a janitor like me. But I never wanted to be a janitor. Right. So long story short, my dad was frustrated because janitors had low paying jobs, and he had me and my siblings, and he was just having a hard life. So my dad and his three brothers, man, they were coming home from work one day, and Puerto Ricans are jealous. So my mom was just talking to one of the neighbors, and my dad just lost it, man. Stabbed dude up, went to prison for 5 years. So then we just left. My mom was a single mom, and my mom's West Indian, by the way. So we moved from New York to Detroit. There's a big West Indian community there. Her father really didn't believe in mixed races. This is back in the 60s. Like back in the 60s, people weren't as open to interracial marriages. So we went to Detroit, the West Indian community. He didn't want to take us in. Then we moved to Chicago, ended up in Philly. And it was just very interesting growing up back east. There's a lot of bad influences in the hood. So I was in and out of reform school getting in trouble. So my uncle says to me, hey man, you like to fight and you like to work out and all this stuff, you should join the army. So At 17, I joined the Army because I wanted to become a doctor. So when I first joined the Army, Tank, I didn't have the scores in my ASVAB, so I was 11B infantry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But then after being in the Army, you know how it is, man. You got these satellite college places. I got my I had my GED when I went, but I got my high school diploma, started going to school, start really educating myself. So then after my first tour, I switched to become a combat medic.
Mm-hmm.
No, because I wanted to learn about the human body, physiology, all that stuff. And I really enjoyed my time in the military, you know. So I went from New York. I was stationed in California. Well, first I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for basic.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to tell you guys how I came to where I am. So we was in basic. So back in the day, what happened is you would get your orders to go to your AIT.
Right.
So back then they gave us these vouchers and we got on the bus, Greyhound bus. But at the Greyhound bus station, the guys from Fort Leonard, from Missouri, where the arches are, we was in the bathroom. We had on our dress. Our Class A's, and one of my buddies got shot in the bathroom. Yeah, but you had to travel in your Class A's back then. When I was in the military, this is back in the 80s. Mm-hmm. So he's in the bathroom, he gets shot, man, and we was just like, wow, man, everywhere is just so violent. So we go to I went to Fort Sam Houston, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, medic. Mm-hmm. And then I was just like stationed there. I had a good time. Then I went to the Presidio, San Francisco, and then from there I got stationed in Germany. So everything was good.
Can I ask you a question?
I did.
Can I ask you a question? Let you continue, because what you just said is interesting, man. What kind of a culture shock was it for you when you went into the military, coming from the hood, coming from being originally from Puerto Rico, finding yourself in New York, and finding yourself in the hood and hood life, and these with these experiences happening, like your father stabbing someone, those things, and now you put in an eclectic environment with people, you know. How was that for you, brother? Because that was a shock for me. I'm just curious. How was that for you?
No, hey, Tank, you're right. It was a culture shock because the military is very eclectic and it's dress, very disciplined. One thing I like about the military, I know it's changing now, but this is what my experience. I can only talk about me. But one thing I noticed in the military back when I was in, you know, here's the bar, and if you meet the bar, then you get promoted. You go to school and all that. So I hear there's racism in the military now. I hear there's transgender stuff. I hear there's gay in the military. I can only speak on my experience. What I liked about the military, Drew, was fair. Like, here's the bar. If you want to get promoted, go to this school, take this course, do this here. Here's the requirements, your PT score, all that. Mm-hmm. And to me, I felt it was fair. But that was my experience. But it really squared me away, Tank, because it taught me discipline and self-accountability. And just to really be able to put in the hard work, because in the military, your hard work you get rewarded for it.
Yeah, sure.
So anyway, I went to Germany, man, and originally when I was in Tank, you would do 18 months overseas. You would do an 18-month tour. Mm-hmm. But I got over there, and I had never been to a foreign country, Drew, never in my life. And I got there, and I'm trying to keep this positive, but the experience I had in the military with the Frolines changed my life, because when I grew up back east in New York, you know, Puerto Ricans and blacks live together, but you don't really get to see like white people or Asian people and that till you go downtown. And I was poor, I never got to go downtown, so I never got to hang around white people or Asian people, none of that. But then when I was in Germany, I'm just around all these Germans. And when I was in Germany, Tank, back in the 80s, the Frolines, they just love brown-skinned dudes. Drew, if you was brown, I don't care if you were short, tall, fat, old, crippled. They were just on you, dude, like you're a movie star, right?
Yeah.
So I had a German girlfriend, man, and she changed my life, man, because my dad, because of our upbringing, he was racist. He believed that the white man's the devil. That's a back east thing, Tank. Yeah. I don't believe that. But, when I got to Germany, the way that people embraced me, and like I said, I was doing martial arts over there. I was lifting weights. I was all Army. I was just living the dream, traveling. So, Tank, I did 3 tours, man. So I ended up staying there 5.5 years because of my Fräulein, right?
In Germany, you turned to a black German. You turned to a black Puerto Rican German. Black and Puerto Rican German.
No, they thought I was a war baby. They thought I was a war baby.
Yeah, the war babies. Yeah.
So anyway, man, I wanted to do another tour, and they was like, "Nah, we're gonna send you to Korea." And I was like, "Nah, then I'm getting out," because I had a job, Tank. Because I spoke fluent German. I looked like a war baby. So they said, hey, what if we send you back to California? So I was like, yeah. So then they sent me back to California, went to Fort Ord, part of the 317th Infantry. And then it was at Fort Ord. And the whole thing, like in Fort Ord, the Army base is right outside the hood. So there was a lot of murders. Tank like, back then we got paid once a month. And I get a lot of people on my channel, a lot of military guys talking about, oh, gee, you get paid twice a month in this EFT. I said, man, check this out, my friend. I'm telling you my experience in the 80s. I don't know what it's like now. The reason I know, Tank, is because you get your check at one window and you go to another window, they cash it. That's how it was when I was in the military. Once a month, you had to budget your money. So anyway, man, when you step outside the base, they had this place called Seaside, California. It's full of gangs, drug dealers. They used to rob the soldiers once a month. So what happened is they had this club called the Brick House. The soldiers go there to mess with the local women. And they'd be like, oh, come to my house. We're going to party. But what you don't know, she got her homeboys waiting. So then when you pull up, you know what I mean, to get ready to go out, they jumping out the bushes. And, you know, in the military, they got dudes from New York, Chicago, Detroit, Louisiana. They ain't no suckers, man. And they like, no, you ain't going to just rob me. You got to take it. So they was killing soldiers left and right, man. It was just crazy. Yeah. So anyway, man, I became a bouncer, man. I made some good friends and stuff and started selling real estate because, Tank, I was getting ready to get out, man. I was ETSing, right?
Right.
So then Desert Storm hits, man. So you got to remember, I'm a combat medic. That Desert Storm hits. We on red alert, getting ready to deploy. But this is the truth, and I'm gonna just be honest on the channel here. A lot of people don't know this. When Desert Storm originally hit, Drew, like in America, they make it seem like it was just a very easy war. There was a lot of casualties we experienced, and here's how I know. The planes, the military planes, would come back with the burnt bodies of soldiers, man, just burnt from the combat. And I have to identify them. I would take x-rays of their teeth because you had to identify their bodies for the family for the military benefits. And I'm talking about it was plane loads, man. I had to take the dead bodies, take them down to the medical area, and then x-ray their teeth because their body's so burnt. They're unrecognizable, right? So people want to make it seem like it was such a victory, but I'm just telling you the behind the scenes of what I experienced.
Right.
So then my commander said to me, hey, soldier, you know, we get so many casualties. You got to fly over there, you know, with your platoon and you just take them off the battlefield, right?
Right.
This is what they told me. And I had 3 months left, thanks. So then, you know, my platoon sergeant was like, and I'm not proud of this. He was like, hey, we're gonna smoke some weed so we can be ready to kill some turban heads. I had never smoked weed once I joined the military because back then it was just say no. Like it was a no tolerance, right? Now there was a lot of alcoholics, but not drugs.
Yeah. I'm about to say, you know, alcohol was the king. Alcohol was the king.
Yeah. So anyway, man, they got me on red alert deployment. We drinking and we smoking weed, which I thought was a bad thing to do. But hey, the whole platoon's doing it because we in the barracks getting ready to go. Like red alert tank, we get ready to deploy. Right. So then one of these dudes says, hey man, they got this thing called crack, man. It's gonna give us superpowers. And I was like, nah, didn't that basketball player dude die from that? Yeah, but he's not a soldier like us, man. We're gonna get off the plane, mow down the Terman heads and everything. And then we tried it, Tank. So what happened, I didn't know I had an addictive personality. So I hit that, it's called beam up. And this is an important point to the story. I hit that crack pipe and I beamed up, Tank. I never came down, man. So just imagine on base, we on red alert, you locked down, you can't leave the base. I snuck off the base. There was a back gate. Snuck out the base and went to get some more crack. And then I had my uniform on, and the crack dealer tried to rob me. And so I shot him. And he ended up dying. So I get back to base, come back to the base. The MPs is like, because you got to come through the front gate. And they're like, hey, soldier, what you doing? It was me and three of my military buddies. What you guys doing off base? Oh man, we had to go and get some, we had to go get some milk. We just made up a story. And they pull us over, find a pistol in the car and find the crack. And then they went ahead and locked us up, man.
Right.
So let me tell you, let me tell you what happened. They had me on what's it called, man, when you get an Article 15 and you're on the base and you're on extra duty. And they put me in this program called to clean me up to go to deployment. The first sergeant's like, hey, you still going, man. Just clean him up. It's a program back in the Army where they make you detox.
Yeah, I've heard of it. I can't think of the name of it, but I know what
Okay,
you're
but
talking
you know, so anyway,
I know exactly what you're
while,
talking
while I'm in the detox program,
about.
dude,
Right.
I go back off base, man, and I go to get some more crack, and it's like, oh, that's the dude that shot the dude, and I get into another gun battle. This time I get picked up by the civilian authorities. So you know how
Right.
it is. There's a blotter report.
The
They
blotter
found out
hits,
I'm
yeah.
locked up, and so
Mm-hmm.
then the first sergeant comes to pick me up, Drew, and then the commander's like, hey man, you was a great soldier. I don't know what the fuck happened with you, but you fucked up because it's one thing you do some shit on base and we can punish you Article 15, but now you shot this dude and he died, man. And
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
what they told me, Tank, and this is very important to the story. The commander, my first sergeant knew me from basic training, and the commander knew me. I was an honorable soldier, been to PLDC, CLC, all this
Mm-hmm.
stuff, right? Never got in trouble. And then the commander was like, you got two decisions. He said, we can go ahead and take you from the authorities and we can process you, send you to Fort Leavenworth for a year or two. You're going to get a dishonorable. Or we can turn you over to the authorities, give you honorable discharge, because I understand stuff happens, man. I don't know what happened to you, but I understand shit happens. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that I chose the option B. They gave me an honorable discharge and turned me over to authorities. And that's how I got the 10 years in prison, my friend.
Wow.